Hey, Lefty here. So that's the A major scale, and that's the pattern that I like to play it in. And scales are important. They're the building blocks to the keys of music, I guess you could say. But we're going to do today, I'm going to show you the A major scale, the pattern that I like to play because I think it's easiest to remember. But then I'm going to show two exercises afterwards that kind of get after mixing it up. So you're not just playing that up and down the scale all the time, because if you do that too much, you tend to just your brain kind of just tends to always do that instead of mixing it up. And melody, rhythm, when you're using a scale, it needs to get mixed up. Be interesting. So stand by. Here comes the major scale. Okay, so I'll step you through the first major scale pattern and the one we're going to do. We're going to do it in A, but you can do it in any key you want. The root is always going to be where you start off with. This is the major scale pattern that I like to do because it's easy to remember, because there's continuity to it across strings. So there's a whole step in between, and I use my middle finger. So we're going from 5 to 7 to 9. The next string down is also 5, 7, 9. Now we get the first iteration of it, or for the second pattern change, is 6, 7, 9. It's on the D string, G string, same thing, 6, 6, 7, 9. Then the last two strings you do 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10. So quickly it goes. Pattern is, when if you want to think fingers, 1 2 5 1 2 5 1 2 5 1 2 5 1 3 5 1 3 5. It's easier for me to remember that pattern. Now coming back, you're going to slide up the 12th fret, 12, 10, 9, 12, 10, 9. That's on the B. On the G, 11, 9, 7, 11, 9, 7, 11, 9, 7, 10, 9, 7, 5. So all together. So that's the A major scale in a particular pattern. I like that pattern because it stretches out your hands and it's easier to remember. The top two strings are the same thing, the middle two strings are the same thing, the bottom two strings are the same thing, except when you're coming back up again. But that's it's not too bad. So the next thing we're going to do is the first exercise, and all this exercise is just a string skipping exercise. So pay attention. It's not, you're doing an A major scale, but you're just skipping a string, coming back up and going back down, but following that kind of same pathway, just a little bit different. So here is the first exercise. Okay, so the first variation, the idea for doing this is to just kind of mix up and not do the scale up and down the same. And all you're doing is we're going to play the scale, but we're skipping a string and going back up. So you start off, again, 5th fret. So you play that element, but instead of going down to the A, you go down to the D and play the 6, 7, 9. Then you go back up one string to the A and play the 5, 7, 9. Skip a string, go down on the G, come back up one string, then skip a string, do the 7, 9, 10, come back up one string, then skip a string, go down. Then you come back up again. This is tough. That's the 12, 10, 9, 11, 9, 7. Go back down a string. Skip a string up. Go back down. skip string up, go back down one string, skip the string up. Go slow at first. Here's how it sounds a little bit faster. Alright, so that was the string skipping exercise. You notice that it helps you kind of break up things a little bit. You're still doing the same thing on each string, but you're having to move around, you know. And that helps, you know, and that you might have that element in a song. I know Nuno Betancourt uses that particular lick in one of his solos off their second album. To great effect, actually, pretty cool. So the last exercise that we're gonna show you, the third one today, or the second exercise, the third one, is a little bit different than that. You're not particularly skipping string, but you're kind of going back and forth. And the best way to illustrate this is just to go through the exercise. You can kind of see it. There is a pattern to it that you build on, but it's actually pretty cool. It's an exercise that I really like to do, and I do it not just in the major scale. You can do it in the minor scales too. It works out there well there too. All right, the last exercise is a little bit more tricky, and we're mixing it up again. So basically there is a pattern here that you'll notice, but it's a little bit harder to pick up at first. So you start off 5, 7, 9. Then you take out the 5 on the E string and you put in the 5 on the A string. Then you take out the 7 on the E string and do the A string. Then you're down all on the A string. So you can see how you're kind of playing the pattern, but you're subtracting and adding different from different frets. So there, then 6. All on one string, then 6. Oops. Sliding up, not coming back. 12, 10, 9 on the E, 12 on the B, 10 on the E, 9 on the E, 12 on the B, 10 on the B, 9 on the E. Now you're all up on the B string. 12, 10, 9. Now here's a tricky one. 11, 10, 9, 11 on the G, 9 on the G, 9 on the B. Now we're all on the G, 11, 9, 7, 11 on the D, 9 on the G, 7 on the G, then we go 11. See the pattern yet? Now we're all on the D. All on the A. Now the E, E, A string. Back to all on the E and return. Okay, so that is a fun exercise to do. Emphasize go slow at first to build the motor program in your brain. I use a geeked out term that sometimes I use with my students. You're building that motor program, but it's a pattern. Just like the scale is a pattern, that's going to be a pattern that you need to work on in order to build up speed, but slow first. and then you'll get faster with that slow. You want to be precise. You don't want to mess up early because you create bad habits when you do that. But that's so that's the third exercise or the second exercise, because the scale is not really an exercise, it's just a scale. So here's how you're going to use those in practice, those three things. So practice the scale first and do it for a couple minutes, 3-5 minutes, till you feel pretty comfortable with it. Then move on to the second exercise, the string skipping exercise. Do that for 35 minutes till you feel comfortable with it. Then go on and move to the third exercise and do that 35 minutes. Then the trick is you go back and do the scale straight, the middle exercise, the third one, and then a third time go back, middle, and the last exercise. And that's better for your brain and how our brains like to learn. We like this spaced repetition kind of aspect. We learn better that way. Sure, you could play it through 1,000 times and you can get really great. It's called the practice effect. But then you come back later, you might not have learned it as good. So breaking things up like that help with learning. Okay, so what we're going to do to play this on out, we're going to use a variation. We're going to improvise on that last little bit and just kind of show you where you might go with something after you do this for a while. Something like that. Have a good one. We'll see ya.